its ad unit portfolio as of February of this year, and the Rising Stars ad units now constitute essentially 50% of that portfolio. We've seen a great deal of adoption by publishers, networks, agencies, and marketers, but we don't want to wait 10 years to get the type of usage on these new units that we see now on the old standards. This webinar is designed to accelerate everyone's efforts in their ability to create, measure, and sell the new units. We have a fantastic lineup today. A great deal of content. We're actually going to go about 50 minutes and impart a tremendous amount of information. And so let's move right into it. I'm going to talk very briefly about what these new units are. We have Christina Swaginis from the IAB and Jonah Goodhart from Moat to reveal results of research on how these are measured and how they work. We then have Diaz Nesimoni from Jivox, who's going to take us through a demo on how you can make these easily. And then Mark Howard from Forbes and Eric Pavelka from Martini are going to give us inside game glimpses into how they're out successfully selling these units. Hopefully everybody here knows what the Rising Stars program is, but just as a recap, this is the program that is designed to discover and capture for the good of the ecosystem the industry's best ad products and make them IAB standards. There are several pillars to this program. The first is that, unlike in the past, where the IAB played inside baseball and determined what its standards were, we have an open call for entries. The second pillar is that we do not judge these. We have an agency working group consisting of 36 agencies that represent the majority of the buy side who are actually the judges. These units then go through a 1-year in-market evaluation phase before they become IAB standards. This conversation is about how this program has impacted the IAB display standard ad unit portfolio, but just so you all know, we are now using this program in mobile and digital video to determine the IAB's first standards there. Here is a short video to remind people of what the new display portfolio looks like.
The IAB Standard Ad Unit Portfolio is new for 2012. The IAB Standard Ad Unit Portfolio created the modern, scalable digital advertising industry. Over 80% of display ads sold follow the IAB standards, but consumers have fallen prey to banner blindness. So the IAB brought dozens of agencies and publishers together to reshape the digital ad landscape. You have more space, more functionality, and a new range of user experiences to tell bigger, bolder brand stories. Different configurations offer marketers new ways to capture and keep consumers' attention. For the first time, IAB standards will include full-page units, putting richer, more vibrant brand ads in front of millions of consumers at once. Size isn't the only thing that matters. IAB's new portfolio enables rich media and social connectivity to scale without customization costs. IAB's new portfolio of ad units entertain, enlighten, and engage at scale.
And so here we have the new IAB standard ad unit portfolio. You see on the left-hand side some old friends from the portfolio, and on the right-hand side, these new Rising Stars units, which are a core component of the new portfolio. And so with that as background, I'm going to turn it over to Christina Swaginis to talk and Jonah to talk about how we measure these and to answer the important question of, are they effective?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. So, as Peter just mentioned, I'm the research director here at the IAB, and I'm going to walk you through the first phase of research. Basically, we did 2 phases of research on this to answer the question, do these ads work? And the first phase consisted of kind of a controlled environment, which I'll go into in a moment. And the second phase consisted of running these ads in a live environment of approximately 4 million impressions of these ads running live. And Jonah will walk you through those phase 2 results in a minute after this presentation. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to test the attention, interaction, and emotion of users in response to these ads across the site. So what we did is, again, the ultimate goal of the research is to try to prove, do these Rising Stars ads work? So what we did was we monitored users' interactions and reactions as they were exposed either to a Rising Stars ad or a standard ad. And now this is the same ad with the same ad creative amongst 3 different advertisers across the 6 Rising Stars ad formats and the 2 standard ad formats, which were 720 by 90 and a 300 by 250 ad. We also had these on the same content page, which was sort of an MSN mock-up page. So we kind of had this contained environment where everything was equal, and we really wanted to see what differences we would find between Rising Stars ads and standard ad formats. So we then followed this up with a survey. And again, these were about 543 online respondents, generally reflecting the online population, and these findings were collected in February. So in trying to measure these, what we did was we had to go beyond the click. Because if you think about Rising Stars ad units, these are very interactive and very engaging ads, we think. So we thought that to measure them with a simple click-through would kind of defeat the purpose of this. So we came up with this, this industry-first measurement of coming up with several different methodologies to try to capture this. So one thing that we did was we used eye tracking to view where people's eyes are going as they're looking across the page and looking at various ads. The other thing that we did was we looked at their behavioral mouse interactions using a company called Moat. And this is to see how they interact with the ad, how they mouse over it. We also looked at facial coding, and and again, this is all through a webcam at the user's home. We looked at facial coding, so we videoed them and analyzed their emotional reactions to see if there was a difference between their emotional reactions to watching a Rising Stars ad unit versus a standard ad unit. We followed this all of this up with a survey, and then we put the final combined analysis together. Now, going into the results, so again, we had to go beyond the click in order to measure these. So we came up with 2 key metrics in order to do this, and Peter's going to give you some background as to how we came up with these metrics.
So the IAB, together with developing these new units, has been working with industry leaders from multiple companies in an effort to standardize definitions for evaluating consumer interactions with display ads. Out of these discussions have come working definitions for interaction metrics, which can be used to understand and evaluate all web-based display ad units, including both the richer formats like the Rising Stars, as well as the older standard IAB ad units. We believe these efforts in the industry signal a movement to focus beyond click-based metrics and toward more attention-focused metrics, such as universal interaction and universal interaction time. The ability to have apples-to-apples metrics that can be used to draw direct comparisons between different ad units is key, we believe, to the evolution of formats as well as the industry as a whole.
Yeah, so the working group that we put together, we came up with this working definition of universal interaction rate in order to measure Rising Stars ad units. And universal interaction rate is generally the percent of users who purposely enter the frame of an ad continuously for at least 0.5 seconds or more. Now, the more technical definition is the number of times a user's mouse enters the frame of the ad and is active, i.e. not parked, for 0.5 seconds or longer for a maximum of 1 interaction per load divided by the number of times the ad fully loads on the page, again with a maximum of 1 load per ad. The second key metric that we came up with is universal interaction time. And this is the average amount of time that users spend on the ad. And again, the technical definition here is the average length of time that a user's mouse enters the frame of an ad and is active or not parked for 0.5 seconds or longer, and it ends when the mouse leaves the ad frame or at 60 seconds, whichever happens first. So moving on to the findings, one of the first things that we found was that Rising Stars ads get more interaction than standard ads. Now, if you look at this universal interaction rate, you can see that standard ads only get about 15% interaction rate, whereas Rising Stars ads get 38% of interaction rate. And as you can see, this is 2.5 times higher. So basically, users are 2.5 times more likely to interact with a Rising Stars ad unit than they are with a standard ad unit. Another finding was that users spend twice as much time with Rising Stars ads. So if you look at the actual universal interaction time spent with these ads, only 7.9 seconds was spent with a standard ad as compared to 15.8 seconds spent with a Rising Stars ad. So as you can see, you get twice as much interaction with Rising Stars ads as compared to standard ads. And again, these are averages across all 6 ad units versus the 2 standard ad units. So the third finding in terms of interaction was that users take less time to react to a Rising Stars ad. So it took the average user about 18.7 seconds in order to even begin to interact with a standard ad, whereas you can see that time is about half with Rising Stars ads. It only took 8.1 seconds for a user to start interacting with the ad. So another methodology that we used was eye tracking, and we found that eye tracking metrics also, confirmed our findings that with the interaction metric. So we found that users spend 32% more time viewing Rising Stars ads. The average length of ad view for a standard ad was about 5.7 seconds when compared to a Rising Stars ad, which was 7.5 seconds. So again, it's 32% more time spent with a Rising Stars ad than a standard ad. Also, the average length of viewing a billboard ad really stood out. That was about twice as much as a standard ad at 12.3 seconds. Another eye-tracking finding was that consumers spend more time on the page viewing the Rising Stars ads. So if you look at the typical user who's looking at a page with a standard ad, we found that 91% of their time was spent viewing the content on the page, and only 9% of their time on that page was spent viewing a standard ad. When you compare that to the Rising Stars ads, we found that 74% of the time spent on that page was spent viewing the content, whereas a whopping 26% of their time was spent viewing a Rising Stars ad. So that's 3 times longer that the time that they spent looking at a Rising Stars ad. And in terms of the survey findings, what we found is that overall, users generally like Rising Stars ads. About 1 in 3 thought that Rising Stars ads were well designed. About 1 in 4 found Rising Stars ads to be more engaging than standard ads. And again, 1 in 4 found the Rising Stars ads overall to be enjoyable, useful, and to improve their impression of the website. So again, we followed the study up with 4 million impressions, live impressions, in the phase 2 of the research. And Jonah Goodhart from Moat is going to walk you through those findings.
Great. Thank you, Christina. I'm going to show my screen here. All right. So as Peter and Christina mentioned, Moat was asked to track the new IAB standard interaction metrics for Phase 2 of the Rising Stars study on live websites with real users. The two key metrics being universal interaction rate and universal interaction time. And this morning I'm going to walk you through the results. Before I dig into the numbers, I wanted to give listeners a feel for the size of this study. The study was no small undertaking with 7 ad units, 5 publishers, 4 advertisers, 5 creative agencies, and 4 ad-serving partners, not to mention live traffic. There were a lot of logistics. So really quickly, we want to thank the publishers AOL, Forbes, Viacom, Yahoo, and MSN, the advertisers AT&T, Jeep, Axe, and Weston, the creative agencies BBDO, BBH, Sapient Nitro, Mindshare, and Razorfish, and last but not least, the ad-serving partners, Pictella, MediaMind, DoubleClick, and PointRoll. So once again, the key metrics we used here were universal interaction rate and universal interaction time, and here are those definitions. So before I show you the actual numbers, to give you context, I wanted to actually show you the ads that ran. These were the 300 by 250s on the standard side. These were the 728 by 90s. These were the film strips. The Sidekick, which was one of 2 expanding ads, full-page expanding ads. Second of those was the Slider, which is this. The Portrait, and the Billboard. And so here's how the numbers played out. Across all Rising Star ad units on all publishers, as compared to the standard IAB ad units on all publishers, the Rising Stars significantly outperformed, coming in at close to a 10% average universal interaction rate, while the standard IAB units were just under 4%. This greater than 2x increase is a strong affirmation of the quality of these units. The Rising Stars outperformed the standard IAB units with regards to universal interaction time as well. The difference was slightly less in this case, but still significant at around 50% higher for the Rising Star units. We did see quite a variance in performance across different units and publishers, and so we thought it would be interesting to look at the top performers for both the Rising Stars and standards and compare them. So the greater than 2x lead by Rising Stars on the averages was held strong even within the top performers from each group. So this is, again, taking the top Rising Star ad unit on the top publisher and the top standard IAB unit on the top publisher. And even in that case, Rising Stars were over 2 times as good. On universal interaction time, again, looking at the top performers, we saw a 2x increase on time as well. This was good news, since while the averages were still strong at 50%, we did see that some of the units significantly outperformed the group. Lastly, we compiled heat maps showing user interactions for all of the ads. And what you generally want to look for with heat maps is areas of focus and whether those areas are where the advertiser intended. While all the ads had some focus, the Rising Star units, as you'll see in a second, stood out as attracting the user's attention to intended parts of the ads, whether that was text or videos or photos. So here were the 300 by 250s, and here were their heat maps. Here were the 728s, and their heat maps. Here were the film strips, and their heat maps. Here was the Sidekick, and its heat map. Notice really focused attention on the video, on the text, etc. It really comes out in the heat maps here. Here's the Slider and the heat map. Here are the Portrait and their heat maps. Another interesting point here, in this case, the video was in different spots. And so you can see attention specifically to the video and the play button coming in at different spots. In the Weston ad, it was at the top, and at the Jeep ad, it was at the bottom where the video was. And lastly, the billboards. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Diaz.
Thanks, Jonah. It's clear that the rising stars outperform standard IAB units on these new important measures of universal interaction rate in universal interaction time. Equally important to the effectiveness of these units is making them easy for agencies and marketers and their publishing partners to create. It's key that the creation of these new units not be seen as a custom process that must be redone from scratch every time. And so we've asked Diaz Nesimoni from Jivox, a company that makes the creation of rising stars easy, to show us their platform for doing this.
Great, thanks, Peter. So I'm going to talk today about how these new display rising star ad units can be built and delivered at scale, which is obviously critical to their success. And I'm going to give a quick overview of our technology platform that is used to create these units, and then I'm going to hand over to Jamie, who's here with me, to show some examples of the units and actually give us a quick demo of how the platform is used to do that. First off, about the platform itself, this platform is a platform that's used to create these units and other interactive ad units, and they can be produced to be served across multiple screens, web, mobile, and connected TV platforms. And once they're built, actually serves the ad units, and then we have the measurement and analytics behind that, so you can see how users are engaging with these ad units. So the first part of the process is where the assets that are available, whether it's animations, images, logos, videos, and so on, are uploaded into the system. We also have a number of pre-built interactive elements like social media, SMS texting, downloads, and so on, built into the platform so that you don't have to build them from scratch each time. And that's all defined using this kind of user interface. And then the next part of the process is the layout and design process, where you can now assemble these assets into the appropriate canvases for the various sized rising star units. So if you have a push-down unit, you're essentially working off of a canvas sized correctly to push down, laying out all the different assets in it, and then essentially once that is saved, you have an ad that's ready to go. We generate ad tags to traffic and serve the ads and actually serve them. And then as soon as the ads go live, you can actually now track all of the things that users are doing. As these ads are highly interactive, we track a wide variety of metrics, a lot of metrics focused on videos, since videos used extensively in these units, and very detailed metrics of exactly how and what the user interacted with in each of the ad units as they are served through. So with that, I'm going to hand off to Jamie here to walk us through a demo.
Great, thank you. So quickly wanted to show you some of the examples that we've created in our platform, and then we can take a look at how easy it was to create it using our Jivox toolset. So here we have the billboard unit that auto expands. We have a video player embedded into the expansion, as well as icons that viewers can engage with to explore this product offering. Collapsing the unit will display the logo as well as a prompt to expand the ad. Here we have a film strip unit that rotates through 5 separate canvases. Each of the canvases will display a unique video and interactive elements that correspond to the different stages of the purchase funnel. Next, we can take a look at the push-down unit. This is a click-to-expand unit. Upon click, we'll expand and push down the content of the page. Again, we have a video player embedded in this canvas, as well as various interactive elements like photo galleries and longer form videos. Lastly, we can take a quick look at the Sidekick unit. This starts off as a 300 by 600 placement. Clicking on that unit will push the content of the page over to the left to display an expansion. Here again, we have various interactive elements that viewers can engage with to explore this product. So now that we've seen some of these units, we can take a look at our tool set that allows us to very easily create them. So within our platform, we have a selection dedicated to the Rising Stars ad unit. Here in this banner section, you can choose from the predefined settings of these Rising Stars ad units. For any of the expansion units, you can first load in your banner creative. Here I've chosen the push-down unit and loaded in that banner image. Secondly, for any of the larger canvases or expansions, you can choose, again, those predefined settings within this big list. For the film strip, you'll be able to define 5 separate 300 by 600 canvases that will get rolled into a single campaign. Here I've selected the push-down unit that corresponds to my banner image. I've loaded in a canvas or a background image, and I will then be able to launch our layout editor so I can then customize and define the expansion of the unit. So in the background, you'll actually see the image that I've loaded in. Here I have a video element that will also be embedded within this canvas. I have the option to exclude or include a video element in this expansion. Once I load it into the canvas, I can also resize and reposition that element to fit with that canvas accordingly. Here I have different images that will actually launch secondary videos within my ad unit. I can choose to select the elements. Again, I can resize and reposition them. We have a set of tools that allow you to fine-tune your layout to whether you want to align those elements or nudge them over using your arrow keys. Once I have that laid out, I can continue to add my interactive elements. So you can see it gets loaded into the canvas. Again, I can resize and reposition that element and continue to define my layout for my expansion. So once I've customized my ad unit, within the Jivox platform, you'll actually be able to generate your ad tags. And as Dias mentioned, Jivox ad units are pre-instrumented with real-time reporting capabilities. And we record just about any and every event that a viewer can take with the ad, from standard clicks and impressions, quartiles of video views, as well as any clicks on the custom interactive elements. As such, we allow all of those events to be recorded via third-party tracking URLs, which you can simply copy and paste into the appropriate fields within our UI. Once those are added in, you can scroll down and actually generate the tags. Within our ad unit pick list, you can choose the appropriate Rising Star ad unit that you would like to traffic. Select that here and simply generate the ad tags. We'll generate the ad tags that are then ready to be distributed for trafficking. So as you can see, Jivox provides a set of tools that allow you to very easily create these high-impact Rising Stars ad units and have them ready for trafficking on the fly. With that, I'd like to change or switch control over to Mark with Forbes.
Great. Thanks, Dias and Jamie. So creating, serving, measuring the Rising Stars ad units are easier than, from my perspective, working the iTunes music store. Very easy. It is not a custom experience. There are fantastic platforms that make these dead simple. There are a couple of companies that, to a casual observer like myself, have been leading the industry in deploying these Rising Stars, actually back before they were so simple to build and measure. And we're going to hear from two of those now. The first is Forbes, and I think we've got Mark Howard.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. So we've embraced the rising stars for quite a long time here, and we've incorporated the ability to run the units on the site for a lot of our initiatives, and really have been a core part as we think about our overall product strategy, and has been essential to our selling efforts especially this year, but even the last couple of years. As we at Forbes have really thought about what we do as a brand, we've engaged on a 2-year re-architecture journey that's been focusing very specifically on the 3 key customer bases that we service. The first is really this notion of journalists and this concept that with the influence of social media, all journalists have had to become social journalists and really think about the way in which they can leverage their content and build themselves up and build their own brands within an environment. The same holds true for users, and we think about the way that they interact now with journalists in a much different way, and with content and with our brand. And so we put a lot of work into the user experience, including the redesign of the site, to accommodate these units in a much better, cleaner way than we ever had before. And of course, today we're here today specifically to talk about the third audience space that we service, and that's the marketers. And truly, with the backdrop that we've created here around this notion of creating a social journalism platform where there's communication and engagement taking place between content creators, content consumers, and marketers on a real-time basis, we've really created a brand-building platform for all 3 of those participant bases. We're seeing this translate very significantly in terms of just the way that we're able to see the referral traffic coming into the site. Most importantly, and especially as it pertains to how this influences the way that we treat the ad units and the type of content that appears in these ad units, we've seen that from social media in just 1 year, the referrals have gone from only 2% of our audience to 17% of our audience, a 750% increase. And that means that we've got a very socially engaged audience who are very much there because their networks distributing our content, and it makes them much more likely to actually enter into the dialogue, the conversation, and the information gathering process that makes the environment so desirable to marketers and why these units work so well for them. With all of that as the backdrop, we this year introduced the entirely new division here at Forbes called the Digital Ad Solutions Group, which was designed to specifically create these units, measure these units, and ultimately optimize these units across the site. Before I talk specifically about how that all works, I just want to walk everybody through a typical experience that is the standard expectation of how ads work right now on the web. Typically, an advertiser runs a campaign, they've got the display ads on the site, the user is then prompted to click through to a landing page. On that page, there's the opportunity to find more information. User clicks to that page, and then ultimately they're presented with content that they'll hopefully click to either open, download, or watch a video. It's a pretty extensive process, and it's asking a lot of the user to actually go from our page all the way through to this end goal of the desired behavior here of the marketer, which is watching this video asset. We think of this as having the rising stars providing us an opportunity to do what we call pull it forward, which is bring that desired behavior, in this case this video consumption, into the actual ad unit. So we, in partnership with a company called Flight, have created 2 Forbes-branded interactive units that we've launched on the site and are currently running over 60 of these executions live on Forbes. The first is the Jetstream billboard, which you see here is 970 by 250. It's pulling in real-time content that could be from YouTube, an RSS feed, a Twitter feed, and it gives the user the opportunity, in this example right here, to actually watch that video right from within the unit. The second unit is something that we call the social ad module, or the SAM unit. And the SAM is a 300 by 60 that does the same thing, where it literally has the ability to pull in content directly into the body of the unit. And it allows the user to watch a video, to read an article. In this example, what you see here is the user actually could highlight a portion of the content and tweet that out to their audience, their followers on Twitter, with a link back to the original source of the article. So giving that desired landing page behavior, or the marketer the ability to distribute that landing page behavior right there within the unit. The second part of the process for us has been the creation of an ad insights group and a close partnership with Moat, and you heard from Jonah earlier, where we're now deeply embedded with them, where we are using their technology to track core 4 metrics, or the metrics that matter on our site for our advertisers. And we're one of the first publishers to fully embrace this universally across our site. So we're now running the Moat tags on our site to track the percent of the viewable impressions, the view time, and the interaction times and the interaction rates, which we've already heard so much about earlier in this webinar. I want to show everybody an example of a real program that ran on our site earlier this year that utilized standard banners, 728 by 90s and 300 by 250s, identified in the line item here, other units, as well as one of our custom SAM units, the 300 by 600. You see that overall the campaign ran 7 million impressions and the average click-through rate was a 0.12%. If you assume that overall we had an effective CPM of $20, you'll see that there's a CPC there of $17 and change. These metrics for us would probably put us in a category of we wouldn't be fired, but we also wouldn't be placed in any category as being a high performer. What's interesting, though, is that we were able to use the Moat tracking technology to actually measure the interaction rates and the interaction time. And what's significant is that when you look at the standard banners, the interaction rate was 4%, but with the SAM unit, it jumped all the way up to 12, over a 200% increase. For interaction time, you see that for the standard banners, it was 4 seconds. However, with the SAM unit, it jumped to 17 seconds, a 4 times increase in terms of the amount of time users were actually spending with the unit. So substantial uptake in terms of what we were to be able to deliver from a performance standpoint, but only because we had the ability to actually showcase that data. So we were asked to participate in a test campaign measuring specifically over a 10-day time period in the beginning of June, a standard leaderboard versus an IAB Rising Star, tracking the different metrics across the board for the 2 units. Here's an example of the different types of units that were utilized. You see with the billboards, of course, you've got all of the interactivity and functionality that we talked about is available within these units, essentially giving that user something to do right there within the unit. And here are the results. You see that when we measure specifically, it pertains to the interaction time, we saw a 24% longer interaction time occur with the IAB unit, the Rising Star unit. But most significantly, we see that the interaction rate went from only 2% for the standard leaderboard up to just under 14% for the billboard. That's a significant uptick in terms of the number of people that were actually choosing to spend time interacting with the unit. And again, it's that idea that if you give users something to do within the creative asset, they will actually do it. The last thing that I want to just touch on today is that we've taken this all one step further. In addition to tracking all the different Moat metrics and the ability that we've got to not only run these Rising Stars on the site, but also the creation of the design team here at Forbes that will build these Jetstream billboards or the SAM units on behalf of our partners. We've also brought in another partner in the mix called Maxifier. And Moat and Maxifier have been working very closely together to help us optimize campaigns specifically to the Moat metrics. So what you see here is an example of a campaign that ran earlier this year where we were able to literally utilize the Maxifier optimization software using the Moat data to show that we could increase the interaction rate on a specific ad unit. In this case, it went from 4.9% interaction rate to 6.1, a 25% higher interaction rate that we were able to deliver by simply utilizing the Moat data, running it through the Maxifier optimization system, and delivering a much higher output in terms of being able to drive more interactions. The second unit that we were able to really show some significant increase in was the viewability and the viewable impressions for one of the ad units in the program, same concept. We utilized the Moat data for tracking through the magnifier system, and you see that we were able to achieve a 16% increase in the number of viewable impressions. So again, it's this idea that we're now starting to focus on these metrics that really do provide some brand impact, that start to fill the gap between what happens between an impression and a click, and really hold ourselves accountable to our partners in terms of the investment they're making with us, but ultimately giving them a better snapshot into what value they were able to derive from the inventory that they ran across their site, knowing that we're very focused on this idea of tracking, reporting, and optimizing most significantly against those Moat metrics, those brand building metrics. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Mark. What is so interesting to me is that you arm your sales guys not just with impression and click data, but these new IAB universal interaction rate and universal interaction time metrics that give them the ability to have a very different conversation with buyers. A second company that has been an early leader in deploying the Rising Stars and doing so quite effectively is Martini Media, and Eric Pavelka is here to show us under the hood a little bit. Eric?
Great, Peter, thank you. I'm Eric Pavelka, the Chief Operating Officer for Martini. And first, thanks so much to the prior presenters to hear from our friends at Jivox and Moat and Forbes, all folks that we work with and interact with in this industry. It's great to have all of you present before. And really thank you to Peter and the IAB for not only making this conversation possible, but really helping change all of our businesses and really help move this industry forward. So thank you very much. Really briefly, for those of you that don't know Martini Media, we are the leading media platform focused on reaching a $100,000 plus HHI audience through a unique combination of our proprietary audience targeting technology, 1,000 of the best sites on the planet, and of course through unique media offerings and really particularly these Rising Star ad units that we're speaking with you today. Today I'm going to chat a little bit about our initial adoption of these units, publisher integration, a little bit on the media, and a case study, and actually how do we get those deployed in the marketplace. So adoption, it all started really from the inside, with our team aggressively educating publishers and advertisers about the benefits of these units. Martini has always been about providing unique branding and engagement solutions for our advertisers, but in 2011, we knew we needed to do more and wanted to do more than just 300 by 250 expandables and 300 by 600 units as examples. When we learned of the Rising Star units and frankly saw what our friends at AOL were able to do with it, we were immediately hooked. hooked. For Martini, we're lucky enough to have a culture throughout this organization that allows us to identify opportunities and quickly act upon them. This strategy was initially pushed forward by only a few folks in our organization, and within a month we had a strategy defined, our partners identified, and we're well on our way to how we'd ultimately not only sell these units, but fundamentally change our business in the process. From a sales perspective, we needed to first educate, and frankly we still need to continue to educate our sales team on all that we can do for our advertisers with these units. This definitely changed the conversation with our advertisers from that of a salesperson pitching to that of a true partner in helping an advertiser reach their goals. On the publisher side, I might say that this was the easy part. Our publishers, and certainly my publisher team, might not agree with that, but we were offering our publishers the opportunity to have higher CPMs, better advertisers, and less clutter on their page. And for advertisers, I wouldn't say that this was necessarily the easy part, but in retrospect, it certainly wasn't as difficult as perhaps it seemed at the time. After all, we were offering these advertisers higher engagement, a larger canvas for creativity, and the ability to build truly unique ad units with video, social, and other elements that you saw today. It's really important to identify the partners that you'll need to help deploy these units, from your advertisers that are willing to try something new, to your publishers that are willing to put in some extra effort, to your rich media providers willing to stretch their platforms and capabilities. All of this combined was and still is key to the successful adoption of these units from Martini. And one more thing is on a partner front, and again, I mentioned it just a second ago, and I'm not just trying to kiss up to Peter, but the IAB, and Peter specifically, has truly helped us in this process, and we thank them very much for these kind of things, but also really helping push the industry forward in a major way in a very brief period of time. And then for Martini, in terms of adoption, what's fun now is that we're taking these units to our office in London, where this hasn't been necessarily has the same adoption as it does today. And the fun part is that we're at the forefront now of learning how to do these units in this new territory, and how can we bring these learnings to a new territory and hopefully scale the business and the opportunity even faster than we have here in the last 9 months. On the publisher side, we are extremely lucky to have very close relationships with our publisher partners. We've always tried to have these close relationships that allow us to push the envelope of the advertising world together. And the Rising Star was the perfect opportunity to not just push the envelope, but really change the landscape, frankly. As I mentioned before, there was a lot of reasons why our publishers should do this. And our publisher team worked extremely closely with our publisher partners in helping them first educate on why to do it, the higher CPMs, the better brand, the less clutter, the better look and feel, the higher quality feel for both readers and future advertisers, and obviously, ultimately, the ability to bring them more revenue. We helped our publishers with site redesign, how to technically deploy these units across all types of technical and operational differences, from the most sophisticated to the most basic technology platforms that our publishers have. We first started small. We focused on 25 sites, primarily with the portrait unit. We quickly moved from there to making sure we can support all the Rising Star units. And today we have over 50 publishers that we deploy all these units to across B2B and tech sites, news, finance, sports, entertainment, autos, lifestyle, and travel. And a couple examples of those sites would be our partners at Salon.com, World Golf Tour, Tennis.com, Stanfeller Media, who runs the Daily Meal, Gaio.com, and among many, many others. Today we have about 250 million impressions available to us, and more when we need it. And when we look to the future, to the end of this year, we look to have over 200 publishers running all of these units, and we're excited to have the most reach for our unique audience with the most unique ad units available. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the creative side. We've already had these great presentations from what Mark just presented and what we just heard from Jivox. But I think that, as each of them touched on, the holy grail with these kind of units is really being able to do paid, owned, and earned media. On the paid side, of course, it's the ability to bring up really unique media. And in finance, for this particular example with Visa, it's a video highlighting their worldwide payment solution. If you look at what we've done in retail, perhaps interactive carousels that showcase a latest line from a Tommy Hilfiger or perhaps a Clinique. On the owned media front, it's really important to ensure that we have the ability to solve our advertisers' goals, and owned media can help make sure that we do that. And if it's in an autos sector, for example, with an autos advertiser, the ability to find a dealer and be able to have that kind of interactive experience within the ad. But finally, it's the earned media, which of course brings us to the holy grail portion. And this is the part where we're able to combine these elements with earned media, whether it be a Twitter or Google Plus integration, a poll, really something that's an interaction beyond a click, and a two-way conversation with the customer is really, really key. The positive thing here is that the results do speak for themselves. I think what you're going to see here in terms of metrics are consistent with what Mark just presented at Forbes and what we heard from Moat as well, and Peter at the beginning of this conversation. But if we look at Tommy Hilfiger and their ad campaign that we did for them just earlier here in 2012, they wanted to build awareness around its new spring fashion campaign and obviously drive sales. Our solution for it was to do premium display across fashion and sports themed publishers. We focused on creating a portrait unit for this particular campaign. We also integrated in a technology that we have, which is mShare, which allows campaign creative to be shared via social network. and ultimately we did develop this unit ourselves, designed it, and deployed it. The result, of course, is that we talk often about CTR, and that's 3 times what a standard banner is. But the reality is that it's not about CTR. No matter what our advertisers might think, it's all about engagement. And this is the place where we really truly excelled. Not only did we deliver the most sales in dollars out of all the publishers on this plan, accounting for 20% of orders and over 20% of all dollars earned, but we had an engagement rate of over 3%, interaction rates of over 16%. Users spent 13 seconds on average with the unit. They performed nearly 5.5 interactions per engagement. So just a really fantastic campaign with high engagement. Next is what it takes to actually get this launched and out into the marketplace, from sales to execution. The kickoff call we found is absolutely essential with this unit. You need to be able to set expectations with the advertiser regarding the assets, agree to timelines, and the follow-up, of course, is critical both internally and externally. The approval, you need to work out the approval process for those creatives ahead of time. It's essential to make sure that the agencies understand the schedule and the time needed to actually create the unit. We can do it extremely fast. It still takes a few days. From a template perspective, it's useful often for us to provide agencies with a creative template, give them a few examples, let them pick based on the assets they already have. We've designed most of these ourselves, but a template can help the creative process move much faster. On the cost front, we certainly waive production costs for nearly all, if not 100%, of our campaigns that we use that run these units. It certainly entices the advertisers to run more of this. On the testing front, it's crucial to do testing ahead of time. A publisher may say that the Rising Star will run on their sites just fine. It's always a good idea to test the Rising Star units before you start running anything with them. And once you have that ad and once it's up and running, especially on sites that are using iframes, it's crucial to do quality assurance. We certainly want to be the ones to find any issues with an ad running and not it be our advertiser or client themselves. I spoke to it just a moment ago in terms of measurement and performance. Of course, it's not about the CTR. It is about engagement. I think this is one of the biggest challenges that we're facing today is convincing the advertiser to understand that it is all about engagement and how can we educate them. And I think, again, getting back to Peter and the IAB and what you guys are doing will certainly help us move down this path more effectively. Tracking performance, impression and click trackers must be used correctly. Make sure you're using the right amount of impression and click trackers and implement in the right place. This is key for reporting and something we've definitely learned over the last 6 to 9 months. And then lastly, optimization. Martini's always been focused on driving towards an advertiser's what we call CPW, the cost per whatever. But for these Rising Star units, performance can really change based on the creative options that these ad units allow us for. For example, we ran a campaign for the Mini Coupe and found that having a woman in the first frame of a video had 5 times the engagement rate of a male in the first frame of a video. So it's understanding those kind of unique elements that can really change a campaign. Finally, to the end, in summary here, it is about adoption. You need to make sure that whether it's internal to your organization, external with your publishing partners, and certainly with our advertising partners, you need to make sure that you concentrate on how to adopt it across each of those key constituents. On the publisher side, it's good to start small. These aren't the easiest things to deploy necessarily. Show the value and build it up from there. The creative itself, it can be awesome to do paid, earned, and owned. It truly is the holy grail. And lastly, execution. It's with anything in our business, execution is key. And these pose some unique challenges that with the right team and the right partners, you can certainly make it look easy, which we at Martini hopefully do time and again. So thank you very much. I think it's time for us to answer some questions.
Great. Thanks very much, Eric. And thanks to everybody, Mark, Jamie, Diaz, Jonah, Christina, and Nicole. We promised you a content-rich hour, and I think we've delivered on that. Actually, we over-delivered because we're now out of time, but hopefully you have come away from this session with the sense that these Rising Stars units are easy to build and deploy at scale, that they work on the new beyond-the-click measures of universal interaction rate and universal interaction time, and importantly, for I think a lot of folks on the call, that they sell. We got a flurry of questions that we're going to answer individually and offline. In addition, you can email me directly, peter@iab.net, for further follow-up. So thanks again to everybody. Note that this webinar has been recorded and will be available on the IAB website later today for your continued listening pleasure. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.